Listen to me, because I won't whisper this truth. I'll roar it so it sinks into the marrow of your bones. The man or woman you are today is not suffering from a lack of talent or intelligence or even opportunity. You suffer because you cannot force yourself to be consistent. That word, consistency, sounds so small, so dull, but I tell you it is the razor's edge between greatness and mediocrity, between the man who is remembered and the one who is forgotten. The world will lie to you and tell you success is about brilliance, that it's about luck or connections or even timing, but I know the truth. I have sat in the private rooms of the successful and listened to their confessions. I have watched the rise and the ruin of men, and I will tell you plainly, it is the power to repeat what must be done, even when you hate it, even when you are tired, even when the world is watching and mocking, that separates the kings from the beggars. You want your life to change? You want wealth, respect, mastery? Then stop chasing moods. Burn your infatuation with motivation. Motivation is fickle. It is a fair weather friend. It shows up on sunny days and deserts you when the clouds gather. Consistency is not a friend. It is a slave driver. It is the iron chain you willingly clasp around your ankle and drag through the mud. And I will tell you why you need it. Because your dreams do not care how you feel today. Your destiny will not rearrange itself to fit your schedule. The universe responds only to what you do repeatedly, not what you think occasionally. Let me speak to the truth of you now. You know exactly what you should be doing. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. You know what action would build you. You know what habit would transform you, and yet you negotiate with it. You say, not today, tomorrow. You say, I'm tired. You say, I don't feel it. And each time you say it, you murder the man or woman you could become. Do you want to know the cost of inconsistency? Look around. It's in the wasted years, the half-built dreams, the moments you felt on fire only to watch yourself cool back to ash. You say you want change, but change demands you become unreasonable with your excuses. I do not offer you comfort today. I do not offer you sympathy for your struggle. I offer you this truth. You will remain a slave to your lesser self until you decide to become a tyrant over your own weakness. Consistency is not magic. It is not sexy. It is not glamorous. It is war, daily war, against your mood, against distraction, against the voice in your head that says you've done enough. I want you to hear me now, because this is the fork in your road. You can keep living as you have been, driven by bursts of enthusiasm, undermined by laziness, explaining your failures in beautifully crafted lies. Or you can choose to force yourself to be consistent. It is a choice. And that is what frightens you most, that it's in your control. Because if you admit that, you lose the comfort of blaming the world. Look at your habits, not your goals, your habits. They are the sum of your true beliefs. Don't tell me you want success if you're unwilling to create the rituals that ensure it. Don't say you crave mastery if you're not willing to bleed for it in repetition. You think the masters love the grind? They learned to love it, but they did not begin that way. No man is born disciplined. No woman emerges from the womb consistent. These are forged, forced, built in the fire of self-conquest. If you are waiting to feel ready, you will die waiting. If you are waiting to feel motivated, you will rot in your comfort. Because motivation is like the wind. It will change directions without warning. But discipline is the ship you build to sail regardless of the storm. Do you want freedom? Then become its slave. Be a slave to your plan, a slave to your word, a slave to the version of you that refuses compromise. Because the world respects consistency. It yields to those who refuse to yield. The universe has no choice but to respond to the man or woman who insists on showing up day after day until the world has no option but to notice. But you're afraid of boredom. You're afraid of the monotony. You're afraid that if you commit to something every day, you will lose the thrill. And I tell you this, the thrill is a lie. It is the drug that keeps you weak. It is the substitute for progress. The truth is that mastery is found in repetition, and most people cannot stomach that truth, so they stay amateur. Which are you? Do you wish to dabble in your dreams, or do you want to own them? Because to own them, you must become consistent beyond reason. You must become the type of person who does it whether he feels like it or not. She executes whether she is inspired or exhausted. I do not care if you feel tired. Work. I do not care if you are scared. Work. I do not care if no one believes in you. Work. Because at the end of all excuses stands the simple question: did you do it or not? The answer will reveal your future. You want to change your life? Then change what you do every single day. Because the future is built in the days no one sees. In the choices you think don't matter. In the mornings you get up before dawn. In the nights you choose work over distraction. Force yourself to be consistent. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because the weak man is ruled by how he feels. The strong man is ruled by what he decides. And I ask you now, what will you decide? Listen to me carefully, because you will want to turn away from these words. Your ego will rebel. Your comfort will scream. But I will not lie to you. You have trained yourself to be inconsistent. Yes, you have trained yourself. Just as surely as an athlete trains for war on the field, you have rehearsed avoidance. You have practiced quitting. You have made an art of delay. And so now, when it matters most, you find you have no strength to keep going. You find yourself making promises in the morning you abandon by night. That is not an accident. That is conditioning. You have built a mind that seeks relief instead of results. You have built a body that prefers comfort over conquest. And worst of all, you have told yourself stories that make it acceptable. You say, I deserve rest, when you haven't earned it. You say, I'm not feeling it today, as if your feelings are the measure of your destiny. You say, I'll start tomorrow, as if tomorrow's promised, as if tomorrow will somehow make you stronger without you doing anything today. You lie to yourself because the truth is too painful, but I am here to break that lie. You want to know why you respect the disciplined man? Because he is dangerous. He is free. He does not negotiate with weakness. He does not ask permission from comfort. He does not need to be rescued from himself. He has become the master of his impulses, and that terrifies you because you know you could be that man. You could be that woman, but you would have to kill the version of yourself that is addicted to ease. You'd have to bury the you that waits for motivation. You'd have to silence the voice that says, it's okay to slack today. You want to transform? Then understand this. Transformation is not a ceremony. It is not a moment of enlightenment. It is not a single decision. It is the decision remade every day, every hour, every minute. It is the relentless, unglamorous work of refusing to betray your future self for momentary comfort. Consistency is not for the emotional. It is not for the easily distracted. It is for those who decide that their word will become law in their own world. Your problem is not that you can't be consistent. Your problem is that you don't fear the consequence of inconsistency enough. You don't fear regret enough. You don't fear mediocrity enough. You don't fear waking up one day with nothing but the graveyard of your own potential surrounding you. And so you stay soft. You stay accommodating to weakness. You stay friendly with distraction. But let me tell you, success is not friendly. It does not comfort. It demands. It takes. It consumes the old you and spits out something harder, sharper, more unyielding. This is the part no one tells you. They want you to buy the myth of balance, the lie of moderation. But hear me now. There is no balance in transformation. There is only sacrifice. You must sacrifice your old self on the altar of your new self, and sacrifice is paid in consistency. Do you want to change? Then do it every day. Do you want to be wealthy? Then act like it every day. Do you want respect? Then become respectable every day. Not when you feel like it, not when it's convenient, every damn day. You think you're entitled to your dream without consistency? That is childish thinking. That is the mindset of someone who wants applause without effort. But reality does not pay out rewards for intentions, only for execution, and execution demands consistency. Do you know why consistency is so rare? Because it is brutally honest. It will expose you. When you commit to doing something every day, you remove all your excuses. You remove the hiding places. Suddenly, it is clear whether you are serious or not. That terrifies people. It is easier to claim you have potential than to prove it. It is easier to talk about your goals than to live them, but I tell you now, talking is cheap. The world does not pay you for your dreams. It pays you for your discipline. You want freedom? Then you must be consistent in building it, because freedom is not handed out. It is constructed, brick by brick, day by day, and every day you skip is a brick missing from your foundation. You want to know why you don't trust yourself? Because you have broken your own word too many times. You have said, "I will," and then you didn't. You have promised yourself change and then delivered the same day as before. That is why you doubt. That is why you hesitate, because deep down, you know your word is worthless. How do you fix it? One way. Force yourself to be consistent, not for a day, not for a week, for as long as it takes, until your word becomes sacred, until your body obeys your command, until your mind no longer rebels at discipline. You must become harsh with yourself, not cruel, but honest. You must stop accepting the excuses that have ruined you, because the life you want exists on the other side of consistency. No mentor can give it to you. No book can replace it. No strategy will work without it. Consistency is the door. Force it open and walk through. Let us speak plainly, you and I. Let us strip away the false politeness, the hollow encouragement, the empty words that coddle your weakness. I am not here to comfort you. I am here to confront you. Because the truth is simple. Even if it is brutal, you have chosen inconsistency. You want to believe it is something that happens to you, as if the universe conspires to keep you from your purpose, as if life's chaos absolves you of responsibility. But that is a lie the weak tell themselves so they can sleep at night without feeling the sting of guilt. You chose it. You chose to sleep in. You chose to skip the work. You chose to wait for inspiration. You chose to feed your distractions instead of your destiny. I know you don't want to hear this, but I will not lie to you. You did not stumble into inconsistency. You built it. One excuse at a time, one compromise day at a time, one negotiation with your lesser self at a time, and so you must unbuild it. No one will do it for you. No one can save you from yourself. The consistent man is not gifted. He is forged. He forges himself in the fires of repetition. He tempers himself in the cold silence of early mornings when no one is watching. He carves away the parts of himself that beg for comfort. He knows that freedom is not found in doing what you want when you want. Freedom is earned by becoming the kind of person who does what is necessary regardless of how he feels. You want the world to respect you? Then you must first learn to respect yourself. And respect is not born in grand gestures. It is earned in the smallest, most thankless choices. It is earned in the hour you rise when you don't want to. It is earned in the work you do when you are uninspired. It is earned in the promise you keep to yourself when no one would know if you broke it, because that is the essence of consistency, integrity with yourself. You cannot lie to yourself and expect to build anything lasting. You want to know why your life feels chaotic? Because you have refused to impose order upon it. You have allowed your mood to dictate your actions. You have allowed your fears to dictate your limits. You have allowed your past failures to dictate your future plans. Consistency is the rebellion against that chaos. It is the declaration that you will be the architect of your life, not the victim, not the bystander, the architect. But architecture is not art without rules. It is structure. It is discipline. It is precision. So too is a great life. You must impose structure on yourself. You must demand precision in your habits. You must apply discipline like a chisel to carve away everything that does not belong in the life you are building. Because here is a truth you will not hear from the masses. Freedom requires slavery. Yes, slavery, not to another person, not to society, but to your own chosen standards. You must be a slave to your purpose, a slave to your vision, a slave to the rituals that build you into the person worthy of that vision. Because if you are not a slave to your standards, you will be a slave to your impulses. There is no third option. You will either command yourself or be commanded by your weaknesses. And that is the decision you make every day, whether you admit it or not. Every time you hit snooze, you choose who commands you. Every time you skip the work, you choose who commands you. Every time you justify a shortcut, you choose who commands you. And those small decisions are not small. They are the blueprint of your future. You want to see your destiny? Look at your habits. Look at what you do every day without fail. That is the foundation your entire life is built upon. If it is solid, your life will stand when the storms come. If it is weak, your life will crumble under the first sign of adversity. Do you think life will spare you hardship? It will not. Do you think success will come without testing you? It will not. You will be tested. You will be pushed. You will be required to stand firm when everything in you wants to bend. And if you have not built consistency, you will fail. Not because you are unworthy, but because you are unprepared. Consistency is preparation. It is training for the inevitable battles of life. It is the sharpening of the blade you will wield against doubt, fear, laziness, and distraction. But you must choose to sharpen it. No one will do it for you. No one will save you from the consequences of your own inaction. You can lie to everyone else, but you cannot lie to the mirror. It will reflect back exactly who you are. And if you want to see someone different in that mirror, you must live differently. You must choose differently. You must force yourself to be consistent, because the choice you make today is not about today. It is about the man or woman you are becoming. It is about the life you will wake up to a year from now, 5 years from now. Consistency is the seed you plant in the present that grows into the future you want. But you must plant it. You must water it. You must protect it, even when you don't see results, especially when you don't see results, because those who quit before harvest never taste the fruit. And so I ask you, will you stay here in the shallow soil of your excuses, or will you dig deeper? Will you demand more from yourself? Will you refuse to compromise? Will you become the kind of person who can look in the mirror and say, I did not betray myself today? That is the measure of consistency. That is the measure of greatness. Let us go deeper still. Let us walk into the silent, uncomfortable truth most people run from. Consistency is not hard because the work is hard. It is hard because it exposes you to yourself. When you commit to doing something daily, you no longer have the shelter of excuses. You cannot hide behind the idea that you could have been great if only life had been kinder. You cannot tell yourself that success evaded you because of fate. Number consistency lays bare the truth. You either did the work or you didn't. That is why most people will do anything to avoid it. They will complicate their plans so they can blame confusion. They will chase new ideas so they can blame distraction. They will seek motivation so they can blame its absence. All of it is designed to avoid the stark simplicity of showing up every day. Because showing up every day is humiliating. It humiliates the part of you that wants to believe you are special while refusing to do what is necessary. It humbles the ego that says, I shouldn't have to struggle. I shouldn't have to work this hard. It breaks the illusion that talent alone is enough. I tell you plainly, talent is a curse without consistency. It gives you just enough early success to make you arrogant, but not enough mastery to make you unstoppable. Talent without consistency is a seed on stone. It will not grow. It will not feed you. It will die in the same soil where someone else planted discipline and harvested greatness. You think you are competing with others. You are not. you are competing with your own inconsistency. That is the true opponent. The voice that says, it's okay to take today off. The voice that says, you've done enough. The voice that says, tomorrow will be better. That voice is your enemy. It sounds kind, it sounds reasonable, but it is the saboteur inside your mind. It is the snake in your garden. And the only way to defeat it is with unrelenting action. Not discussion, not planning, action. Consistent action is the executioner of your inner weakness. Every day you show up is another nail in the coffin of your lesser self. And make no mistake, it will fight you, it will beg, it will plead, it will negotiate, it will promise you relief if you just quit today. But you cannot negotiate with weakness. Weakness must be starved. It must be denied the attention it feeds on. You must become deaf to its cries, because it does not want your success. It wants your soul. Yes, your soul. It wants you to die with your potential unspent. It wants you to take your dreams to the grave. And if you let it rule you, that is exactly what will happen. People will weep over your coffin and talk about what you could have been. Is that the legacy you want? A life of almosts? A legacy of excuses? Or do you want to be the one they speak of in hushed, reverent tones because you actually did it? Because you didn't just dream, you built. Because you didn't just wish, you worked. Because you didn't just start, you finished. That is what consistency gives you. It is not glamorous. It is not praised while you are doing it. No one applauds the man who rises in the dark to practice alone. No one cheers for the woman who turns down distraction night after night to stay focused. But the results cannot be denied. They will be undeniable. They will be inescapable because consistency compounds. It is the most powerful force available to you. One action means little. One good day changes nothing. But when you link good day to good day, effort to effort, decision to decision, you become something no one can ignore. You become inevitable. Your success is no longer a question. It is only a matter of time, because the world must yield to the one who refuses to yield. Understand this, the universe is neutral. It does not favor the gifted. It does not reward the lucky. It responds to those who keep showing up. It cannot deny the one who refuses to go away. You want to be that person? Then decide. Right now. Decide that you will not negotiate with inconsistency any longer. Decide that you will not entertain the soft voice that says later. Decide that your word will mean something, not to others, to you. Because that is where power comes from. When you become someone whose promises are not empty. When you become someone whose actions match their words. When you become someone who can trust themselves completely. Do you want self-confidence? Earn it. It is not given. It is not taught. It is built. It is built by watching yourself keep your promises. It is built by the evidence of your own eyes that you will do what you say. That is how you kill doubt. That is how you bury fear. Not with speeches, not with affirmations, with action. Relentless, consistent, unbroken action. Even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Because that is the moment that defines you. Anyone can work when they're inspired. Anyone can act when they're excited. But the one who acts without feeling is the one who cannot be stopped. Be that one. I want you to hear me now as if these words are carved in stone, unchanging, undeniable. Consistency is the price you pay to become unrecognizable to the person you are today. That version of you, the one who hesitates, who doubts, who gives in to comfort, is not built to withstand the storm of your dreams. That version must die, and it dies through consistency. Because consistency is execution. Consistency is self-inflicted transformation. It is the slow, deliberate, often thankless process of chiseling away everything you are not until all that remains is what you truly are. Your higher self is not found in grand moments. It is found in the quiet. In the silence before dawn, when you choose work over sleep, in the hours when no one is watching but you, in the repetition so boring, so unglamorous, that most would never survive it, this is the forge of greatness, and most will avoid it. They will chase novelty. They will chase excitement. They will chase anything that saves them from facing themselves every day, because when you commit to daily work, you meet yourself. And that is terrifying. You see your excuses in the light. You see your fears stripped bare. You see your weakness without justification. And that confrontation is the birthplace of power, because you cannot defeat what you refuse to face. Consistency forces you to face it again and again and again until it breaks, or you do. That is why I tell you, if you want this life, you cannot be soft. You cannot be polite with your limitations. You cannot negotiate with your past. You must become a tyrant to your lesser self, because that self will kill your future if you let it. And make no mistake, it wants to. It wants to survive. It wants to stay comfortable. It wants to keep you exactly where you are, because here is safe, here is familiar. But your destiny does not live here. Your destiny lives in the territory you have not yet conquered, and you will not conquer it with motivation. You will not conquer it with dreams. You will conquer it with the daily violence of consistent action. Violence not against others, but against the part of you that wants to quit. Violence against the voice that whispers enough before you're finished. Violence against the comfort that has betrayed you over and over again. Do you understand what I'm telling you? I am not selling you ease. I am offering you freedom. But freedom is not free. It demands sacrifice. It demands discipline. It demands that you choose your higher self every single day over the seductive voice of your weakness. This is why few will ever know it. They will watch movies about it. They will read books about it. They will applaud others who have done it. But they will not do it themselves, because it is hard. It is so hard it feels impossible. And that is exactly why it works, because by its very nature it filters out the uncommitted. It filters out the pretenders. It filters out the dreamers who won't pay the price. And all that is left are the few, the rare, the ones who chose to stay when everyone else quit. You want to be one of them? Then decide now that you will outlast the voice in you that wants to stop, because that voice is not you. It is everything in you that has been trained to stay small. It is the conditioning of a world that fears excellence. It is the inheritance of generations who settled. It is the enemy within, and you cannot befriend it. You cannot reason with it. You must conquer it. Every day, consistency is your weapon. It is the sword you forge in the heat of your own resistance, and it will cut down your doubts. It will silence your excuses. It will clear the path in front of you until all that remains is the work. And when you do the work, you will see the results, not immediately, not conveniently, but inevitably, because the universe cannot deny the one who refuses to be denied. It does not reward the wishers. It rewards the workers. It rewards the consistent. You want proof? Look around. Look at anyone you admire. Strip away the noise, the story, the marketing. What remains? A man or woman who did the work, who kept showing up, who refused to stop. That is the common thread of every success story worth telling. And it can be yours, but only if you choose it, not once, but daily, because this is not a decision you make and forget. It is a decision you renew every morning, every night, every time the weakness calls your name. You answer with action. You answer with effort. You answer with relentless, unbreakable consistency, because that is what will build you into someone unrecognizable to the person you are now. And that is the entire point of this journey. Listen to me as if your future depends on it, because it does. You think you have time. That is the biggest lie. Time is the most ruthless creditor. It collects its debt whether you're ready or not. Every day you delay, it takes from you. It steals opportunities you will never even know you missed. It robs you of the man or woman you could have become. It demands payment in regret, and regret is the interest that compounds without mercy. I have watched men cry on their deathbeds, not because they failed, but because they never tried consistently enough to find out if they could succeed, because they were cowards in the face of routine, because they worshiped novelty instead of mastery, because they confused being busy with being committed. Don't you dare be one of them. Consistency is not sexy. It is not exciting. It does not stroke your ego, but it is the most profound declaration of self-respect you can make, because it says to the world, and more importantly, to yourself, I will not betray what I said I would do. Do you know how rare that is? A man whose word is iron, even to himself. A woman whose promise cannot be broken, even by her own mood swings. This is not common. This is uncommon. This is the realm of the rare, and that is why it is rewarded so lavishly, because you are not just competing with others. You are competing with the lazy version of yourself, the one who says good enough, the one who says later, the one who says maybe tomorrow. That voice will ruin you if you let it, and you have let it for too long. That is why you're here, because something in you knows you're living below your potential. Something in you is sick of your own excuses. Something in you wants to burn the bridges back to who you were. Good. Because that burn is necessary. You cannot evolve while staying the same. You cannot grow while protecting your old habits. You cannot ascend while carrying the dead weight of your past self. Consistency is the funeral you hold every day for who you used to be. You bury him, you bury her, every day, so something stronger can rise in their place. But you have to do it. No one will do it for you. You want a coach? Consistency is your coach. You want discipline? Consistency is your training ground. You want freedom? Consistency is the price of admission. There is no shortcut, no hack, no secret formula. Because the secret is so obvious, people overlook it. Show up every day, without fail, without negotiation, without needing applause. Because applause is cheap. Because applause is noise. Because applause will disappear the moment you falter. But the results you build in silence will outlast the noise. That is your legacy. Not what you say you will do. What you prove you can do. What you prove you can keep doing. Even when it's boring. Even when it's hard. Even when you want to quit. Especially then. Because those are the moments that forge character. Those are the moments that define the difference between average and excellent. Those are the moments that decide if you will become someone worth remembering or just another ghost in the crowd of mediocrity. I will not lie to you. This path will test you. It will strip you down. It will expose your fears. It will demand that you give up your illusions because you can't be consistent and cling to lies. You can't be consistent and keep your delusions of grandeur without the work to back them up. Consistency demands truth. It is a mirror you can't escape. A mirror that reflects what you did, not what you intended, not what you wished, but what you actually did. And that mirror can be harsh, but it is honest. And that honesty is your salvation. Because when you see the truth, you can change it. When you see the gap between who you are and who you want to be, you can close it. One day at a time. One disciplined act at a time. One choice at a time. That is the method. That is the process. That is the price. And if you will not pay it, you will not have it. There is no other way. So I ask you now, who are you willing to become? And what are you willing to do every single day to become that person? Because no matter what you answer, your actions will tell the truth. Your habits will tell the truth. Your consistency will tell the truth. So choose carefully, because you are writing the story of your life in the language of your daily decisions. Make it a story worth telling. Lean in now. Let me tell you the secret most men will never admit, even to themselves. Inconsistency is a form of self-betrayal. It is lying to your own soul. It is promising yourself change, then delivering the same. It is saying, I will, and then proving I won't. And over time, Those small betrayals carve deep wounds in your spirit. You stop trusting yourself. You stop believing in your own potential. You start telling yourself comforting lies like, maybe I'm not meant for it, or some people just have what it takes. But the truth is simpler and far more painful. You didn't keep going. You didn't stay when it got boring. You didn't push when it hurt. You didn't refuse the easy way out. And because of that, you remain exactly where you are. Not because you're cursed, not because you're unlucky, but because you failed to be consistent. I'm not here to coddle you. I'm here to liberate you with the kind of honesty most people can't stomach. Because the moment you admit that you created this reality through your daily choices is the moment you take back the power to change it. You don't need motivation. You don't need another plan. You don't need permission. You need to keep your damn word to yourself. Every day, you want results? Make yourself show up. No matter how you feel, no matter how inconvenient it is, no matter who is watching or not watching. Because that is the true test. Will you do it in silence? Will you do it without applause? Will you do it when no one will ever know if you quit? Because that's where greatness is born. It is not born in public victories. It is born in private battles, in the relentless slaughter of your own laziness, in the quiet rejection of your own excuses, in the uncelebrated choice to go again and again and again, until there is no part of you left that even entertains quitting. That is what consistency builds. It builds unshakable self-trust. It builds the knowledge that you are exactly who you say you are. Not because you said it, but because you proved it. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how magnetic that is? A person who cannot be shaken because they have become their own foundation? That is what the world responds to. Not noise, not hype, but truth. And truth is revealed in action. You want confidence? Earn it. Earn it in the small moments. Earn it when you don't want to. Earn it when the world isn't looking. Because that's where it counts. That's where it grows. That's where it hardens into something unbreakable. People will try to sell you shortcuts. They will tell you there's an easier way. There isn't. There is only the hard way, the disciplined way, the consistent way. It is the way you stop being ruled by your moods. It is the way you stop being seduced by your weaknesses. It is the way you stop betraying your own destiny. Consistency is loyalty to yourself. It is saying, I am not here to dabble. I am not here to test the waters. I am here to master this. And mastery does not happen in bursts. It happens in the long, unbroken chain of daily effort. That chain is forged one link at a time. Each link is a day you didn't quit, a day you didn't negotiate, a day you kept your promise. And when that chain is long enough, it binds you to your destiny. It becomes unbreakable. But miss enough links, and it breaks. It fails, and you fail with it. So the question is not whether you want success. Everyone wants it. The question is whether you are willing to keep building that chain when you're tired, when you're bored, when you're discouraged, when the results seem too small to matter, because that's where everyone else quits. That is the graveyard of potential. Don't let your name be carved there. You are meant for more. You know it. That's why these words sting, because they call out the part of you that remembers. The part of you that knows you're capable of extraordinary things if only you'd stop betraying yourself. I will not let you forget that. I will not let you make peace with your own weakness. I will not let you lie to yourself one more day that you're doing your best when you know you're not. Because your life depends on this. Your future depends on this. Your legacy depends on this. Force yourself to be consistent. Not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because it's the only way. Hear me now as if these are the final words you will ever hear on the subject. Consistency is the bedrock of all greatness, not brilliance, not talent, not luck. Those things may start fires, but consistency is what keeps them burning. Because talent fades when it isn't trained. Brilliance dims when it isn't used. Luck abandons the undisciplined. But consistency remains. It is the daily ritual of choosing who you want to be over who you have been. It is the repeated act of murdering your old habits. It is the quiet, relentless war you wage with the laziest parts of yourself. Most will not fight that war. They will talk about dreams. They will plan elaborate futures. They will write goals in fancy notebooks. And then they will wait. Wait for motivation. Wait for inspiration. Wait for the stars to align. But you know what happens when you wait? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The world doesn't move for you. Your potential doesn't fulfill itself. Your dreams don't get delivered to your doorstep like a package. You wait, and you wither. Because time punishes the passive. It rewards the relentless. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Objects in motion stay in motion. Momentum is real, but you don't get momentum by wishing for it. You get it by doing something today, and tomorrow, and the next day, even if it's small, especially if it's small, because the small things compound. They grow roots. They turn into unbreakable habits. They shape your identity, and in the end, your identity is your destiny. So I ask you, who are you training yourself to be? Every day you skip the work, you train yourself to quit. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you train yourself to avoid pain. Every time you let your mood decide your actions, you train yourself to be a slave to impulse. Do you understand? You are always training. The question is, what are you training for? Weakness, mediocrity, regret, or greatness, strength, pride in yourself so deep it cannot be shaken? That choice is made not once in your life, but daily, hourly, minute by minute. That is why consistency is so rare, because it requires you to stay awake, to stay honest, to stay aware of every decision. It demands that you stop lying to yourself about why you didn't follow through. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're uninspired. It only cares that you do the work, because the work is the proof. The work is the prayer. The work is the sacrifice you make to the person you want to become. No one else can do it for you. No one else will care as much as you. No one else can save you from the consequences of not doing it. This is the burden of freedom. You are responsible. You alone. And so you must choose right now. Will you remain someone who breaks promises to yourself? Or will you become the kind of person who refuses to lie to themselves ever again? Because that's what consistency really is. It is truth in motion. It is integrity made visible. It is the outward evidence of an inward vow that says, I will not betray myself today. Say that to yourself every morning and then prove it, because you can say anything. Words are wind, but effort is eternal. Results don't lie. They don't make excuses. They don't tell comforting stories. They simply show what you did or didn't do. And if you don't like what they show, good. You can change it today, right now. You don't need to wait for January. You don't need a new planner. You don't need permission. You need to do the work. You need to do it when you're tired, when you're scared, when you're bored, when you're alone, because those are the moments that matter most. Those are the moments that define you, not the easy days, not the inspired days, the hard days, the lonely days, the days when no one believes in you and you must be the only one who does. If you can stay consistent on those days, you can have anything you want, not because it will be given to you, but because you will have built the kind of person who can claim it. That is the truth they won't tell you in motivational speeches. You don't get what you want. You get what you become. So become someone who doesn't flinch. Become someone who doesn't compromise. Become someone who doesn't need to be reminded because you've burned it into your identity. I am the one who shows up. I am the one who keeps going. I am the one who finishes. Not once, always. That is consistency. That is power. That is freedom. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about the enemy that lives in you quietly, cunningly, the negotiator. You know the one. It's that voice that bargains with your destiny, that says, you've done enough for today. That's good enough. You can skip just this once. You deserve a break. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It makes sense. It sounds like self-care, but it's not. It's self-sabotage in disguise, because the negotiator never wants what's best for you long-term. It wants comfort now. It wants relief now. It wants the path of least resistance now. And every time you listen to it, you weaken the part of you that was born to conquer. You feed the part of you that will die with regret. You cannot make deals with that voice. You cannot compromise with it, because it has nothing to offer you but mediocrity. It is the salesman of failure. It sells you cheap pleasure at the cost of your purpose. And if you don't shut it down ruthlessly, it will own you. It will direct your days. It will define your habits. It will shape your entire life, until you look back years from now and realize you sold your potential for scraps, don't you see? This isn't just about goals. This isn't about being productive. This is about your soul's integrity. Because every time you choose inconsistency, you're not just delaying your dreams. You're training yourself to be someone who does not keep their word. You're teaching yourself that your promises mean nothing. And if they mean nothing to you, they will mean nothing to the world. That is why so many live small, because they let that voice win. And every time it wins, they lose a piece of themselves, until one day there's nothing left to fight with. They're husks of who they could have been, and I refuse to let you become that. That's why I speak so harshly. That's why I refuse to sugarcoat this. Because if you don't see the danger in that voice now, it will kill your greatness quietly, silently, painlessly. And that's the worst part, because failure delivered with pain can wake you up. But failure delivered slowly, comfortably, it anesthetizes you. You won't even know it's happening until it's too late. So I'm here to rip off that comfort, to make you uncomfortable with your own excuses, to hold up the mirror so you see the truth. You are choosing who you become with every decision. And when you choose inconsistency, you choose betrayal. Betrayal of your dreams. Betrayal of your future. Betrayal of the part of you that knows you were meant for more. That is the cost of listening to the negotiator. So kill it, starve it, silence it, and replace it with the voice of command, the voice that says, we go anyway. We do it anyway. We keep our word, especially today. That voice must become your master, because it will lead you somewhere the negotiator never can. It will lead you to pride. Not ego, but real earned pride. The kind that lets you sleep deeply at night because you know you didn't lie to yourself today. Because you know you stood up when it would have been easier to sit down. Because you know you acted in alignment with the highest version of yourself. That is the gift of consistency. It is not just the results you get. It is the person you become. A person worthy of respect. A person worthy of trust. A person worthy of leading. And let me tell you something the world won't say out loud. We are starving for people like that. People who keep their word. People who don't need to be watched to do the right thing. People who don't negotiate with weakness. Because those people build companies, they build families, they build legacies, they build nations, and they all started the same way you must start. By refusing to quit today, by refusing to negotiate today, by doing it today no matter what. Because once you start stacking enough of those days, something changes in you forever. You stop hoping you'll succeed. You know you will, because you've proven you will. You've given yourself evidence, and that evidence compounds into certainty, into identity, into destiny. So kill the negotiator, replace it with the commander, and let that commander take you where you've always belonged. Not in the crowd, but out front, leading, owning, becoming. Listen carefully now, because this is the part most will never understand and even fewer will accept. Consistency is not just about doing the same thing every day. It's about becoming the same person every day. The person who keeps their word. The person who honors their craft. The person who refuses to give less than they're capable of giving. Because life will test you. It will throw chaos at you. It will tempt you to break your standards just this once. It will demand that you prove what you say you believe, and most will fold. Most will let circumstances dictate their character. Most will say, today doesn't count because I'm tired, because I'm stressed, because I don't feel like it. But consistency says, I don't care how I feel, I care what I committed to. Consistency is integrity in action. It is the vow you make to yourself that circumstances do not have the power to break. It is the living proof that you are the master of your own destiny because you are the master of yourself. Do you want to know who really wins in this life? Not the smartest, not the most gifted, not even the most ambitious. The ones who win are the ones who can control themselves. Because when you can command yourself, you can command results. You can shape reality to your will. But you cannot do that if you are inconsistent, because inconsistency is chaos. It is self-betrayal repeated until it becomes identity. It is the seed of failure planted in your soul, watered with your own broken promises. And it grows into a forest so thick with excuses, you can't see your own potential anymore. You want to clear that forest? You want to see the truth of who you could be? There is only one axe sharp enough to cut it down: consistency, daily, relentless, uncompromising. That is the price. But that is also the reward. Because there is no feeling in this world like knowing you can trust yourself completely, that you will do what you said you would do, that you don't need to hope you'll follow through, you know you will, that you don't need to wait for perfect conditions. You create them by showing up. That is freedom. That is power. That is the foundation of all success. But it is earned. Earned in the hours no one sees. Earned in the choices no one applauds. Earned in the moments you want to quit, but choose to stay. And let me tell you something else. Your dreams don't care about your excuses. Your goals don't care about your reasons. The world doesn't reward intention. It rewards execution. So stop talking about what you're going to do. Stop promising yourself you'll start when you're ready. You're not going to feel ready. Readiness is a lie you tell yourself to avoid the discomfort of beginning. You want to be ready? Do it scared. Do it unprepared. Do it messy. Do it tired. Do it when you don't know how. Do it when you're embarrassed. Because the only way to become the person who can handle success is to prove you can handle the process. And the process is not kind. It is not glamorous. It is not forgiving. It is brutal. It is repetitive. It is unsexy. But it is fair. It rewards the one who keeps showing up, not the one who wants it most, not the one who talks the loudest, but the one who refuses to go away, who refuses to stop, who refuses to be moved by anything but their own decision, because decision is power. Consistency is decision repeated until it becomes destiny. So I ask you now, what have you decided truly? Not what you say, what you do, because that is what will define you. That is what will shape your life. That is what will decide whether you live a life of regret or a life of relentless, undeniable success. And if you don't like your answer, good, because you can change it. Not tomorrow, now. Because the time to become the person you were meant to be is always now. And now is all you will ever have. Let me speak to you as plainly as I know how. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your discipline. That is the truth no one wants to hear. It is so much easier to dream, so much easier to talk about vision, so much easier to get high on inspiration and call it progress. But progress doesn't care how inspired you are. It only responds to work, to repetition, to daily effort so consistent it becomes your nature. Because consistency is not something you do. It's something you become. It's the part of you that says, I don't miss. I don't skip. I don't lie to myself. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how powerful that is? The world bends for people like that because they are so few. They stand out without trying. Not because they are louder, but because they are immovable. They are predictable in the best possible way. They are dependable when everyone else is flaking out. They are the ones who keep building when others get bored. And that consistency compounds. It compounds in skill. It compounds in trust. It compounds in opportunity. Because people notice. They notice the one who keeps showing up. They notice the one who delivers. They notice the one who can be counted on. And when you are consistent long enough, you don't have to seek opportunities anymore. They come to you. Because the world is starved for people who can be trusted. But let's not talk about the world for a moment. Let's talk about you. Because this is the hardest part to accept. The first person you have to prove yourself to is you. Because you know your own lies. You know every time you quit early. You know every excuse you made. You know when you gave half effort. You know. And that knowing eats at you. It poisons your confidence. It whispers in your ear when you try to dream big. Who are you to want that? Look at what you do. You can't silence that voice with affirmations. You can't outthink it. You can't meditate it away. You have to kill it with evidence. Daily evidence. Consistent evidence. You have to bury it under the weight of your own follow-through until even that voice has to admit, this one doesn't quit. This one is different. This one keeps going. That is how you build unshakable confidence. Not by feeling good, but by doing good, consistently. And let me be even clearer. You will not always do it well. You will not always feel strong. You will not always see progress immediately. That's why most stop, because they think consistency means perfection. It doesn't. It means you don't leave. You don't quit. You keep showing up no matter how ugly it gets, no matter how slow it feels, no matter how hopeless it seems, because you trust the process more than your mood. That is mastery. That is power. That is what separates those who get what they want from those who settle for what they're given. Because the world does not deliver to the most talented. It delivers to the most consistent. The ones who show they can be trusted with more, trusted to handle the weight, trusted to keep going when it's heavy, trusted to keep their head when it's chaotic. You want that kind of life? You want that kind of freedom? Then earn it every day, without excuses, without negotiation, without the need for someone to push you. Become the one who pushes themselves, because that person is unstoppable. That person doesn't need permission. That person doesn't need motivation. That person doesn't need the world to be easy, because they made themselves strong, one consistent day at a time. Now listen closely, because this is the part most people miss entirely. Consistency is the ultimate form of self-respect. When you do what you say you will do, even when no one is watching, even when you don't feel like it, you are proving to yourself that you are worthy of your own trust. How many people can say that? How many people can look in the mirror and say, I trust you? Not because of words, but because of evidence. Because they've watched themselves deliver. Because they've seen themselves stay when it was easier to go. Because they know, beyond any doubt, that they will not abandon themselves in the moment of decision. That is the foundation of all power. Because when you trust yourself, you become immune to the world's chaos. Distractions lose their pull. Temptations lose their teeth. Criticism loses its sting, because you know who you are and you know what you do. You don't need to prove anything to anyone else. You prove it to yourself daily. That is freedom. But most people never taste it because they can't keep their own word. They break it for the smallest comforts. They sacrifice it on the altar of convenience. And then they wonder why they feel so lost, so unworthy, so unsure. It's because they can't trust themselves. And if you can't trust yourself, how can you expect the world to trust you? How can you expect opportunity to find you? How can you expect to lead anyone else? Leadership doesn't begin when others follow you. It begins when you can follow yourself. When you can tell yourself to move and you move. When you can tell yourself to stay and you stay. When you can command yourself and know you will obey, that is self-mastery. And there is no self-mastery without consistency. None. Because anything you do only when you feel like it is not mastery. It's a hobby. It's a fling. It's something you do when it's fun. But greatness is not fun. It is glorious, but it is not fun. It is satisfying, but it is not easy. It is fulfilling, but it is not always pleasurable. Because it demands that you say no to what is easy. It demands that you say no to what is convenient. It demands that you sacrifice the comfort of now for the promise of later. And that sacrifice is made not once, but daily, hourly, in the smallest choices. It's in choosing to get up when you want to stay down, to keep going when you want to quit, to stay silent when you want to complain, to focus when you want to drift, to build when you want to destroy. These are the choices that shape you. These are the moments that make or break your destiny, and they are so small that no one else will notice, but you will. Your soul will. Your future will, and that is why they matter so much. Because consistency is not for show. It's not for applause. It's not for validation. It's for you. It's the promise you make in silence. It's the vow you keep in solitude. It's the standard you refuse to lower, even when no one would blame you if you did. That is how you become someone you can respect, someone you can trust, someone you can follow. Because let me tell you, the truth most will never admit. You will follow yourself. One way or another, you will either follow the part of you that is weak, that loves comfort, that seeks escape, or you will follow the part of you that is strong, that loves growth, that seeks purpose. Both voices live in you. Both are waiting for your allegiance. And every single day, with every single choice, you cast your vote. So what will it be? Who will you follow? Who will you become? Because the world will not decide for you. Life will not decide for you. You will decide. With your habits, with your actions, with your consistency. Let me tell you something most won't dare to say. Consistency is not for the weak. It's not for the easily offended. It's not for the ones who need to feel good before they act. Consistency is for warriors because it is war, a quiet daily war against your lesser self, against the voice that says not today, against the impulse that says good enough, against the fear that says what's the point, because that voice will never shut up. It will never leave you alone. It will wake up with you. It will follow you to work. It will sit with you at night. It will whisper to you in your moments of doubt and fatigue. It will tell you every lie you want to hear, that you're too tired, that you're too busy, that you deserve a break, that no one will know if you cheat, that one day off won't hurt. And it's so convincing because it knows you. It knows exactly how to get you to stop. That's why consistency is war, because you must kill that voice daily. You must bury it under action. You must starve it of compromise. You must deny it oxygen by refusing to speak its language. Its language is negotiation. Its currency is excuses. Its religion is comfort. And if you want to be consistent, you must become its sworn enemy. You must speak a new language, decision, discipline, conviction. You must pay with sweat instead of excuses. You must worship at the altar of truth instead of comfort. Because comfort will lie to you. Comfort will betray you. Comfort will leave you in ruins. But truth will save you. Truth will strengthen you. Truth will set you free. And the truth is this: you can have excuses or you can have results. You cannot have both. And you decide which one you will choose every single day. Not once. Every day. That is why consistency feels so hard, because it requires that you keep deciding, that you keep sacrificing, that you keep recommitting. It is not one decision, it is 1,000, a million. Every choice, a vote for the person you want to become. And when you finally understand that, when you finally accept that this is the price, you are free. Because there is no more illusion, no more hoping it will get easier, no more wishing for motivation. You stop waiting, you start working, you start showing up, you start keeping your word, and something amazing happens. You stop hating the work. You start loving it because you see what it's making of you. You see the transformation. You feel the power in knowing you can rely on yourself. You taste the freedom of knowing you don't need anyone else to make you act. You become the architect of your own life. Because if you can master consistency, you can master anything. Fitness, business, relationships, mindset, wealth, peace. They are all built on the same foundation. Can you keep going when you don't want to? Can you do the right thing when no one is looking? Can you stay loyal to your vision when it would be so easy to quit? That is the test. That is the price. And the reward? A life you don't have to lie about. A body of work you're proud of. A legacy that inspires. A mind at peace. Because you know you did what you said you would do. That's the real wealth. That's the real success. Not cars, not houses, not followers, but self-respect. Unshakable, unbreakable, earned. So if you want that, you know what to do. Decide, and then keep deciding. Every day. Until there is no part of you left that even remembers how to quit. Let's go even deeper now. Let's talk about the real reason most people fail at consistency. It's not because they're lazy, it's because they're addicted to novelty. They want new, they want exciting, they want the rush of starting. But consistency isn't about starting. It's about staying. It's about showing up after the excitement is gone. It's about grinding when it's boring. It's about executing the plan long after the mood you made it in has left you. Most people can start. That's easy. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can make a plan. Anyone can declare their goals to the world. But the real test is when no one's watching, when it's raining, when you're tired, when progress feels slow, when the finish line is nowhere in sight. That's when most people quit because they think something is wrong. They think it should feel good. They think it should be faster. They think it should be easier. So they jump to the next thing, the next idea, the next plan, the next rush. And they get to feel good again. They get to be excited again. They get to tell themselves they're working on it, but they're not working on it. They're avoiding the real work, which is staying, which is committing, which is finishing. Because there is no power in starting 1,000 things. There is power in finishing one. There is power in doing the same thing every day until you're unrecognizable. There is power in boring, because boring is where mastery lives. Boring is where the competition quits. Boring is where your future is built. Consistency is embracing boring. It is saying, I don't need it to be exciting, I need it to be done. It is saying, I don't need motivation, I need standards. It is saying, I don't care how I feel, I care what I do. That is the separation. That is the line in the sand. Most won't cross it because it's hard, because it's lonely, because it doesn't get applause. But that's exactly why it works. Because when you master consistency, you're not competing with the world anymore. You're competing with who you were yesterday. And if you can beat that person every day, no one can stop you. Because they're too busy waiting to feel ready. They're too busy chasing new. They're too busy negotiating with their emotions. While you're building, brick by brick, day by day. No shortcuts, no excuses, just the truth. And here's the truth that will set you free. You don't need permission to be consistent. You don't need talent to be consistent. You don't need the perfect plan to be consistent. You just need to decide. And then keep deciding. Until deciding is no longer a choice, it's who you are. It's automatic. It's your default. Because that's the secret no one tells you. Consistency gets easier. Not because the work changes, but because you change. You adapt. You strengthen. You evolve. The habits you once had to force become the habits you can't imagine living without. The standards you once struggled to meet become the minimum you'll accept. You raise yourself. You recreate yourself. And that is the purpose of this whole thing, not to get a result, but to become the kind of person who can create any result they choose. That's the real reward. That's the real goal, not the thing you want, but the you that can make it inevitable, and that only comes one way, consistency. I want you to sit with this truth for a moment. The most powerful thing you will ever build is yourself, not your business, not your reputation, not your bank account, yourself. Because all those other things are reflections of who you are. They are shadows cast by your character. And character is forged in repetition, inconsistency, in the daily choices no one else will see. Most people never get this. They think the gold is the trophy, the title, the money, but those things don't last if they aren't built on something solid. And there is nothing more solid than a person who can keep their word to themselves. That is the unbreakable foundation. Because life will test you. It will strip away the easy wins. It will challenge the shiny facade you present to the world. And when it does, the question will be, did you do the work? Did you build the habits? Did you show up when you didn't want to? Because that's what remains when everything else is taken. That's what you fall back on when times get hard. Your consistency is your armor. It is the evidence that you can be trusted, not just by others, but by yourself. Because let's be honest, most people are living with betrayal, not the kind that comes from others, the kind they deliver to themselves. Every time they say they'll start tomorrow, every time they promise themselves they'll stop quitting, every time they swear this time will be different, only to cave at the first sign of discomfort. And that betrayal piles up. It turns into self-doubt. It turns into self-hate. It turns into this quiet, insidious belief, I can't trust myself. But you can change that. You can change that starting today by keeping one promise, just one, by showing yourself that your word means something, that you don't need perfect conditions, that you don't need to feel like it, that you don't need anyone else to push you. You can be your own push, your own reason, your own standard. That is how respect is built, not demanded, not faked, not performed, but earned. And when you respect yourself, everything changes. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your decisions change, because you're no longer negotiating with weakness, you're commanding strength. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you're better than who you used to be. That's the real goal. Not to beat the world, but to beat your own lesser nature every day, relentlessly. Because that's what consistency is. It's refusing to let your feelings vote. It's refusing to let your excuses hold power. It's refusing to let your old self lead. It's saying, I am in charge now. I am the standard now. I decide what happens next. No apologies, no explanations, no permission asked. That's the level you want. That's the level you can have. But you have to earn it, not once, every day. Because consistency is not an achievement. It is a practice. It is the discipline of becoming the one who shows up, becoming the one who finishes, becoming the one who others can count on, but most importantly, becoming the one you can count on, because that's the promise, that's the contract, that's the unbreakable truth. If you can trust yourself, you can build anything. Now, let me tell you the brutal truth that will set you free if you let it. You are not special because you want it. Everyone wants it. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants health. Everyone wants wealth. Everyone wants respect. But wanting doesn't mean anything. The world is full of people who want, who wish, who dream, who talk. But the world is not shaped by them. It is shaped by the ones who do, who act, who keep going, who remain when others leave, who stand firm when others fold, who show up when others make excuses. That is the price. That is the separation. That is the chasm between the many and the few. And consistency is the bridge, the only bridge, because without it, nothing happens. Without it, your dreams remain fantasies. Your goals remain wishes. Your plans remain paper. But with it, everything changes, because consistency turns desire into evidence. It turns goals into results. It turns the person you hope to be into the person you are. That is why you must force yourself to be consistent, because no one else will do it for you. No one else will care as much as you should, No one else will save you from your own laziness. No one else will wrestle the excuses out of your mouth. That is your job, your burden, your responsibility. And you must love it. You must embrace it. Because there is freedom in responsibility. When you accept it, all is on you. You become untouchable. You don't need to wait. You don't need to blame. You don't need to wish. You simply do, day after day, without fail, without apology, without needing to be seen. Because that's the other lie people believe, that consistency is for the world, that you're doing it for the applause, for the approval, for the validation. But the truth is, the world doesn't care. It's not watching you. It's not waiting for you to win. It's busy with its own struggles, its own chaos, its own failures. So why do you do it? You do it for you, for the person you become, for the future you get to live, for the quiet confidence you earn, for the nights you sleep soundly knowing you kept your word. That's the real reward. Not the praise, not the prize, but the peace. Because let me tell you, that peace is priceless. You cannot buy it. You cannot fake it. You cannot shortcut it. You earn it in the dark. You earn it in the boring. You earn it in the hard. You earn it by doing what you said you'd do long after you no longer feel like doing it. That is the forge. That is the crucible. That is the place where the weak version of you burns away and the real you emerges, unbreakable, unbothered, unstoppable. So understand this. When you force yourself to be consistent, you are not punishing yourself. You are liberating yourself. You are freeing yourself from the tyranny of your moods, from the prison of your excuses, from the leash of other people's opinions. You are declaring, I am sovereign, I am disciplined, I am inevitable. And that declaration doesn't come from words. It comes from action, repeated, relentless, uncompromising. That is who you must be. That is who you can be if you choose. Let me speak to you now as plainly as I can. You are not your intentions. You are your habits. You are not what you promise. You are what you practice. You are not what you hope for. You are what you do over and over, especially when it's hard. That is your truth. That is your identity. And that is either the most terrifying or the most liberating thing you will ever understand. Because it means you can't hide. You can't lie to yourself forever. You can tell yourself you want it. You can tell yourself you're trying. You can tell yourself you're different. But the mirror never lies. Your results don't lie. Your daily actions don't lie. They show you exactly who you are. And if you don't like what you see, good. Because that is your chance, your invitation, your call to arms, to change. Not through hope, not through dreaming, not through talking, but through the oldest, most unglamorous, most dependable method known to humankind. Repetition, discipline, consistency. Because that is the lever that moves the world. That is the chisel that carves greatness out of mediocrity. That is the flame that burns away weakness. But you must hold it. You must wield it. No one else will. Because let's be clear, this is not about talent. This is not about intelligence. This is not about luck. This is about staying, about persisting, about refusing to yield, because life will try to make you yield. It will test you. It will tempt you. It will tire you. It will hurt you. It will offer you every excuse you need to quit. And most people will take it because it's easier, because it feels safer, because it gives them an out. But you are not most people. You wouldn't be here if you were. You wouldn't still be listening to my voice if there wasn't something in you that refused to go quietly, something in you that knows you were made for more, not for comfort, not for safety, but for impact, for legacy, for greatness defined not by applause, but by alignment. Alignment between what you say you want and what you actually do. That is the integrity consistency demands. It demands that you live in truth, that you pay the price, that you stop waiting for it to get easier. Because here's the secret. It won't. You will. you will get stronger. You will get sharper. You will get clearer. You will get so used to doing hard things that the easy things bore you. That's the evolution consistency offers, but only if you choose it, daily, without fail, without negotiation, until one day you look in the mirror and see someone you respect, someone you trust, someone you know will do exactly what they said they would do, no matter what. That's the goal. That's the mission. That's the reward. Not the thing you achieve, but the you who is capable of achieving anything, because that person is unstoppable. That person is unshakable. That person is inevitable. And that person lives inside you right now, waiting for your decision. I want you to hear me now in the deepest part of your being. You do not need permission to become who you were meant to be. No one is coming to tap you on the shoulder and say, now is the time. No one will clear the path for you. No one will remove the obstacles. No one will hand you consistency on a silver platter, because it doesn't work like that. Consistency is forged. It is fought for. It is won in the trenches of your own resistance. It is the daily act of telling yourself, I go anyway. I do it anyway. I keep my word anyway, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient, because that is the dividing line. That is the difference between the masses and the masters. The masses wait to feel like it. The masters act regardless. The masses look for signs. The masters become the sign. The masses crave certainty. The masters create it. And let me be clear, this is not about being fearless. Number, you will feel fear. You will feel doubt. You will feel boredom. You will feel fatigue. You will feel every excuse rise in your mind like a chorus screaming for your surrender, but you will not surrender because you made a vow to yourself, a vow that matters more than comfort, more than popularity, more than instant gratification, a vow that says, I will finish what I start. I will show up when I want to hide. I will execute when I want to rest. I will keep going long after motivation has left me, because that vow is the foundation of everything else you want: success, wealth, health, respect. They are all built on that vow, broken and rebuilt every day in the crucible of choice. You want freedom? Earn it with discipline. You want power? Earn it with repetition. You want self-respect? Earn it with follow-through, because no one can give these things to you. They can only be claimed by the one who dares to act over and over, without apology, without explanation, without the need for validation. Because the world is noisy, it will try to distract you. It will try to seduce you with easy paths. It will try to mock your consistency, call you obsessed, call you rigid, call you extreme, and let them. Because in a world addicted to distraction, focus is rebellion. In a world addicted to excuses, discipline is heresy. In a world addicted to quitting, consistency is revolution. Be that revolutionary. Be that outlier. Be that threat to mediocrity, not with words, with deeds, not with noise, with evidence, not with declarations, with daily proof. That's what changes you. That's what changes everything. Because the person who can force themselves to be consistent in a world that celebrates inconsistency becomes untouchable, unshakable, unstoppable. And that can be you, if you choose it. Now let's get even more real, because I will not lie to you. Consistency will not always feel like progress. In fact, it will often feel like nothing at all. It will feel thankless, invisible, boring. It will feel like digging a tunnel in the dark with your bare hands day after day, unsure if you're even moving forward. And this is where most people stop, because they don't see results fast enough, because they want proof before they pay the price. But life doesn't work like that. Life demands the price first. It demands faith in the process. It demands effort in the absence of applause. It demands movement when you can't see the finish line. That is the real test. That is the crucible that separates the committed from the curious, the few from the many, because anyone can work hard for a day. Anyone can be excited for a week. Anyone can show up when it's new, when it's shiny, when it's easy. But what about day 100, when you're tired, when no one is cheering, when the results are so small they're almost invisible, when every part of you is screaming to stop? What then? That's when you decide who you are. That's when you discover what you're made of. Because consistency isn't about today. It's about forever. It's about building something so solid that nothing can shake it. Not failure, not boredom, not criticism, not doubt, not fear. Because you've trained yourself to keep going no matter what. And let me be clear, that is trainable. You are not born consistent. No one is. We are all born wanting ease, comfort, relief. But consistency is built brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day, by refusing to let your feelings make your decisions, by refusing to let circumstances dictate your standards, by refusing to let other people's opinions write your story. You become consistent the same way you become anything else, through practice, through discipline, through sacrifice, through commitment to something bigger than your moods. Because let's face it, your moods are liars. They will betray you. They will desert you at the first sign of difficulty. But your standards, your decisions, your commitments, they can save you. They can hold you steady when the world spins. They can carry you forward when you're too tired to care, but only if you choose them, daily, ruthlessly, religiously, because that's what it takes. And the truth is, you wouldn't be here if you didn't already know that, if there wasn't something inside you that craves that level of integrity, that level of power, that level of self-command. It's in you, waiting, demanding, begging you to stop lying to yourself, to stop quitting on yourself, to stop playing at life and start living it with intention. And that begins always with consistency. I want you to understand something few ever grasp. Consistency is not punishment. It is liberation. Because inconsistency is a prison where you are ruled by moods, by fear, by distraction, by the opinions of people who don't even know themselves. It is a life lived at the mercy of chance, a life where you hope but never claim, where you wish but never decide, where you drift but never steer. Tell me, is that what you want? A life of drifting, of waiting for inspiration to strike, of being ruled by your weakest voice? Or do you want a life that is yours, truly yours, designed, built, earned? Because that life demands consistency. It demands you show up on the days you want to hide. It demands you act on the days you want to rest. It demands you focus on the days you want to numb yourself with distraction. It demands you choose purpose over pleasure, future over comfort, honor over ease. Because consistency isn't just doing things repeatedly, it's doing the right things repeatedly, even when they hurt, especially when they hurt. Because those are the moments that shape you, not the easy reps, not the victories, but the moments of doubt, of fatigue, of silence, when you want to quit so badly you can taste it, and you don't. That's the forging of character. That's the construction of identity. That's the birthplace of self-respect. Because you can't lie to yourself after that. You can't hide from who you are, because you proved it in the dark, alone. When no one would have blamed you for stopping, you didn't. And that's the fuel you carry forever. The unspoken knowing, I am the kind of person who doesn't quit. I am the kind of person who can be trusted. I am the kind of person who does what needs to be done. Imagine the power of that. Imagine walking through the world knowing that no matter what it throws at you, you will not fold, you will not break, you will not betray yourself, because you have trained the muscle of consistency. You have built the habit of showing up. You have made yourself dependable. To others, yes, but most importantly to yourself, because you live with yourself.
You know your own secrets. You know your own betrayals. You know every time you caved, every time you lied, every time you chose easy over right. And you can forgive that, but you can't ignore it. It lives in you until you replace it with new evidence, new choices, new rituals, new truths. That's why consistency matters so much, because it is how you rewrite the story, how you retrain the mind, how you reclaim the soul, one action at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time, until there is no part of you left that doubts your own word, because you have forced yourself to become the person you said you would be. That is mastery. That is freedom. That is the prize. Not given, earned.
Now let's destroy one of the greatest lies you've ever been told, that greatness is about intensity, that it's about grand gestures, that it's about going all in once, impressing everyone, and then coasting on that applause. That's not greatness. That's theater, that's ego, that's noise. Greatness is quiet, greatness is mundane. Greatness is built in the moments no one sees. The mornings you get up without applause. The evenings you keep working after everyone else has quit. The days you stay the course when there's no motivation, no validation, no excitement, just the promise you made to yourself. That is where greatness lives. It lives in the small, the boring, the uncelebrated, because that's what consistency is. The art of being boring in service of something extraordinary. Most people will never get that. They want fireworks, they want hype, they want to feel good every time they act. But let me tell you, feelings are a poor master. They will desert you the moment things get hard. They will betray you the moment discomfort arises. They will lie to you about what you deserve. They will rationalize quitting, but your commitment, your decision, your standard, those are unbreakable if you choose to make them so. That is the difference. That is the separation. Anyone can be intense for a day. Anyone can post motivational words online. Anyone can talk about discipline, but consistency is proving it when no one is watching, when there's no reward yet, when the result is months or years away. When you're tired, when you're uninspired, when you're filled with doubt, that's when it matters. That's when it counts, because that's when everyone else quits, and that is your chance, your moment, your edge, because you will not quit. You will not betray your promise. You will not bow to comfort. You will stay. You will build. You will honor the vow you made to yourself. And in doing so, you will become untouchable. Because think about it. What can the world do to someone who refuses to quit? What can failure do to someone who keeps showing up? What can criticism do to someone who is too busy executing to hear it? What can fear do to someone who acts anyway? Nothing. That's real power. That's real freedom. It's not about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself, your actions, your reactions, your standards. Because when you master those, you master your fate. You don't need permission. You don't need reassurance. You don't need praise. You just need the will to keep going every day, without fail, without apology, without compromise, until one day you look around and realize you're living in the life you once dreamed about. Not because you were lucky, but because you were consistent. Let's talk now about the price of inconsistency, because everyone wants to know the reward for discipline, for showing up, for keeping your word, but few want to face the cost of failing to do so. Let's look at that, because there is always a price. If you choose consistency, you pay in effort, in time, in sweat, in patience. But if you choose inconsistency, you pay in regret, in lost potential, in broken trust, in self-loathing, in watching someone else live the life you were capable of creating. And that is the price most people pay, silently, privately, daily. They don't talk about it. They don't post it on social media, but it eats them alive. The knowing that they could have been more, done more, created more. The knowing that they sold their future for comfort, that they traded long-term freedom for short-term relief, that they betrayed themselves in the quiet moments no one else will ever see. That is the real cost. And it's devastating because it's not about anyone else. It's about you and your own reflection. It's about the relationship you have with yourself. Because let's be clear, when you're inconsistent, you don't just disappoint others. You disappoint yourself. You teach yourself that your word is worthless. You train yourself to expect failure. You build an identity on broken promises. And you carry that with you everywhere, into every room, into every relationship, into every goal, because you can't run from who you are. And if you are someone who quits, someone who flakes, someone who caves, then that is the energy you bring to everything. But here's the beauty. The reverse is also true. If you are someone who is consistent, someone who honors their commitments, someone who keeps going when it's hard, then that is the power you bring into every room, into every conversation, into every goal. That is the energy that people feel. That is the foundation you stand on when everything else is shaky. Because it's not about the goal itself. Goals come and go. Achievements fade. But who you become in the pursuit, that remains. That's yours forever. No one can take it. No one can fake it. No one can gift it. You have to build it. You have to earn it. And you do that through consistency, through the daily battle, through the small, unsexy, thankless actions repeated over and over until they become who you are. Not something you do, but something you are. That's the shift. That's the evolution. That's what changes everything. When you stop performing discipline and start embodying it. When you stop talking about standards and start living them. When you stop trying to be motivated and start being consistent no matter what. Because that is when you become dangerous, not to others, but to your own excuses, to your own fears, to your own limitations. And that, my friend, is the whole point. I want you to see this clearly. Consistency is not just about goals. It's about freedom, true freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want whenever you feel like it. That's chaos. That's slavery to impulse. That's a life ruled by the weakest parts of you. Real freedom is earned through discipline, through structure, through the ability to command yourself. Because let me ask you this. If you can't tell yourself what to do and do it, who's in charge? Your moods, your fears, your distractions, your cravings. If those rule you, you're not free. You're a prisoner. And you built the cell yourself, bar by bar, excuse by excuse. Every time you chose what was easy over what was right. Every time you said tomorrow instead of today. Every time you broke your own promise. That's the harsh truth. But it's also the liberating truth. Because if you built the prison, you can tear it down. You can choose differently. You can choose consistency. You can choose discipline. You can choose to be the kind of person whose actions align with their intentions, not once, but daily, relentlessly. Because that is how freedom is forged, not granted, forged, through sacrifice, through repetition, through refusal to negotiate with weakness. It's choosing to do what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's looking at your excuses and saying, not today, not ever again. It's looking at your fears and saying, you don't get a vote. It's looking at your own past failures and saying, you will not define me, because that is real power, power over yourself. And when you have that, no one can stop you, because you are no longer waiting for the world to change. You are changing yourself. You are no longer hoping for opportunities. You are preparing for them. You are no longer wishing for success. You are becoming the kind of person who attracts it. Because success doesn't respond to neediness. It doesn't bow to hope. It doesn't care about your intentions. It responds to consistency, to discipline, to proof. It responds to the person who keeps showing up when everyone else goes home, to the person who says, I will not quit, I will not fold, I will not betray myself. That is who you must be, not sometimes, not when it's convenient, always. Because there is no shortcut, there is no hack. There is only the daily, unglamorous choice to keep going, to keep building, to keep becoming, until one day you don't have to force it anymore, because it's who you are, not an act, not a performance, your truth, your default, your identity. That is the prize. That is the promise. That is the reason you must force yourself to be consistent until you no longer have to. Let's talk about something most people avoid: pain. Because this is the truth no one wants to hear. Consistency will hurt you. It will break you down. It will strip you of illusions. It will expose your laziness. It will reveal every lie you've told yourself about why you can't, why you shouldn't, why you don't need to. Consistency is honest, brutally honest, because it doesn't care about your stories. It only reflects your choices every single day. And that's why most people run from it, because it forces them to see themselves clearly. Not the fantasy version, not the one they show the world, but the real one, the undisciplined one, the impulsive one, the one who gives up. And that's painful. But hear me, pain is not the enemy. Pain is the teacher. Pain is the compass. Pain is the price of growth. Because when you force yourself to be consistent, you're not just building habits. You're tearing down the parts of yourself that cannot come with you, the excuses, the fears, the doubts, the softness. You're killing off the lesser self, the one that seeks comfort over growth, relief over results, approval over authenticity. And that death will feel like loss. It will feel like mourning, but it's necessary. Because you can't be who you want to be and stay who you are. Something has to die. For something greater to be born, that's the deal, that's the trade. And yes, it will hurt. It will hurt to say no when you want to say yes. It will hurt to wake up early when your body begs you to sleep. It will hurt to work when you want to rest. It will hurt to choose focus over distraction. It will hurt to keep going when every part of you wants to stop. But that pain is the forge. It is the place where the old you burns away and the new you emerges, stronger, sharper, clearer, more dangerous, more dependable, more you, the you were always meant to be, the you that keeps promises, that honors commitments, that refuses to betray yourself ever again, because that is the ultimate betrayal, isn't it? Not to others, to yourself. To look in the mirror and know you lied, you quit, you chose ease, you chose fear. But you don't have to live that way anymore. You can choose something else. You can choose pain, productive pain, meaningful pain, transformative pain, the pain of consistency, the pain of doing what's right over what's easy, the pain of honoring the standard when no one is watching. That is the price, and you must be willing to pay it gladly, because the alternative is far worse. The pain of regret, of wasted potential, of dying with your greatness still inside you. So choose your pain, the pain of discipline, or the pain of disappointment, the pain of growth, or the pain of decay, because you don't get to avoid pain, you only get to choose which one you live with. Now let's get even deeper, because consistency isn't just about action, it's about identity. It's not simply what you do, it's who you are. You see, most people think they can act inconsistent and still call themselves disciplined, that they can break promises to themselves and still have confidence, that they can choose comfort over growth and still have self-respect. But you can't, because your identity is shaped by your habits. Your beliefs are built by your choices. You are not separate from what you repeatedly do. You are what you repeatedly do. That's why consistency is so powerful and so threatening, because it forces you to become the person your goals demand. It's easy to dream big, to speak with grand words, to tell others what you're going to do, but can you live it? Can you embody it daily? That's the real question, because talk is cheap, dreams are cheap, everyone has them. But execution is rare, execution is costly, execution demands that you become, that you outgrow the old self, that you shed the false identities that kept you small, that you silence the voice in your head that says, I'm not enough, by proving it wrong. Not once, but over and over, because that's how belief is built. Through evidence, through practice, through repetition. You want to see yourself as disciplined? Then you must act disciplined. Not think about it, not talk about it, not journal about it. Act consistently, relentlessly, until there is no gap between who you say you are and what you do. That is alignment. That is integrity. That is power. Because when you live in that space, you don't need validation. You don't need praise. You don't even need motivation. You are self-sufficient, self-propelled, self-correcting. You trust yourself because you've earned it. And that's rare. That's magnetic. People will see it in you even if they don't understand it. They'll feel it in the way you speak, the way you move, the way you make decisions. Because there is a clarity, a certainty, a force that comes from knowing you will do what you said you would do, no matter what. That is the gift of consistency. It is not the result. It is not the applause. It is the man or woman you become, unshakable, undeniable, unstoppable. Because once you forced yourself to be consistent for long enough, you no longer have to force it. It becomes who you are. It becomes your nature, your default setting, your standard. And that is true freedom. Because when you can trust yourself, you don't need to control the world. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need guarantees. You just need you. The you who shows up. The you who doesn't quit. The you who is inevitable. And that is what I want for you. That is why I push you. Why I demand so much of you, because I know who you can be. I know what you can do, if only you would refuse to settle, refuse to negotiate, refuse to quit, if only you would be consistent, not for a day, not for a week, for as long as it takes. Now listen carefully, because I want you to see what most people never see. Consistency is the ultimate form of self-love. Not the soft, indulgent kind. Not the comforting lie that says you're perfect as you are while you wither inside. But the fierce, demanding kind of love that says, I will not let you waste your life. I will not let you betray your own potential. I will hold you to a higher standard even when you hate me for it. Because that is what true love does. It doesn't coddle weakness. It doesn't enable excuses. It doesn't celebrate mediocrity. It demands more. It sees your greatness beneath the fear and refuses to let you forget it. That's what consistency is. It is proof that you care about your future self more than your current comfort. It is evidence that you value your potential enough to pay the price. Because let's be clear, if you don't act consistently, you are abandoning your future self. You are leaving them burdened with regret, with unfulfilled dreams, with the knowledge that you could have but didn't. That is betrayal, and you feel it, even if you don't talk about it, even if you try to numb it. You know when you're lying to yourself. You know when you're taking the easy way out. You know when you're wasting time you'll never get back. That knowing is pain, but it's also the signal, the invitation, the warning shot across the bow of your life saying, change now, before it's too late. Because time doesn't care about your excuses. Life doesn't pause because you're tired. Opportunity doesn't wait while you figure it out. It moves on. And if you're inconsistent, you get left behind. Not because you're unlucky, not because you're cursed, but because you didn't do what was required. That's the brutal truth. But it's also the liberating truth, because it means you have power, you have choice, you can change. You can start today, not by dreaming, not by hoping, by acting, by showing up, by refusing to quit, by making the decision once and honoring it every single day. That is what consistency asks of you. It says, prove it, not once, every day, not when you feel like it, especially when you don't. Not when it's easy, but precisely when it's hard, because that is the difference between average and exceptional. Between talkers and doers, between those who wish and those who have. It is consistency. It is discipline. It is the daily execution of intention. That is the price. And you must choose to pay it, not because you have to, but because you want to, because you refuse to settle, because you refuse to die with your greatness still inside you, because you love yourself enough to become who you were meant to be. Now let's speak plainly, because I will not lie to you. There is no shortcut to this. No hack, no secret formula, no easy path. You want consistency, you must earn it, you must train it, you must choose it again and again and again until it becomes the only way you know how to live. Because let's be clear, your current habits are training you too. Every time you procrastinate, you're training yourself to delay. Every time you quit, you're training yourself to surrender. Every time you break your own word, you're training yourself to distrust yourself. You are always in training. The only question is, for what? For greatness or mediocrity? For strength or weakness? For resilience or fragility? Because life is watching. Your mind is watching. Your future self is watching, and they're all taking notes. They're all recording the evidence you give them. And one day you'll stand in front of that ledger and see the truth. Not the version you told the world, but the one you can't lie about, the one you can't hide from. And you will either be proud or ashamed, not because of what you did once, but because of what you did daily, consistently. That is the measure. That is the standard. That is the reckoning. And let me tell you, most people will avoid this conversation their entire lives because it's hard, because it demands responsibility, because it leaves no room for blame. But you are not most people. You wouldn't be here if you were. You wouldn't still be listening if there wasn't something inside you that refuses to be average, that refuses to settle, that refuses to accept anything less than what you know you're capable of. That is the voice I'm speaking to, the real you, the one buried under layers of excuses, of fear, of habit, of old stories you didn't even write. It's time to strip those away. It's time to burn them, because they're not you, they're not your destiny, they're not your truth. Your truth is that you were built to choose, to decide, to act, to become, and consistency is the vehicle. Consistency is the hammer that breaks the chains. Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you could be. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, it won't get you applause, but it will get you freedom, power, peace. Because when you know you will do what you say, always you become unbreakable. Because nothing life throws at you can shake you if you refuse to betray yourself. That is the prize. That is the promise. That is what waits for you on the other side of your excuses. So choose today, now, while you still can. Now, while. Let's get painfully specific now, because I want no illusions left. Consistency is not a feeling. It is not an emotion. It is not a wave of motivation that washes over you and carries you effortlessly forward. It is a decision, a brutal, unsexy, daily decision. It is waking up and choosing your values over your mood, your goals over your excuses, your future over your comfort, again and again and again, until there is no choice left to make, because you've already decided who you are, and you honor that decision without debate. Because debate is where weakness lives. That tiny gap between I should and I will. That moment of negotiation where comfort seduces you, where fear whispers to you, where old habits try to reclaim you. That is the battlefield. And consistency wins because it refuses to fight there. It eliminates the debate. It closes the gap. It says, there is no decision to make today. I made it already. I do the work, period, no matter what, no matter how you feel, no matter what happened yesterday, no matter how far the finish line still seems, because feelings are fleeting, circumstances are unpredictable, but commitment is solid, commitment is sovereign, commitment is non-negotiable. That is what consistency truly is. It is the daily execution of that commitment. When it's raining, when it's sunny, when you're celebrated, when you're mocked, when you're full of hope, when you're drowning in doubt. Because let me tell you something the world will never admit. Most people are ruled by their feelings. They're prisoners of their moods. They worship comfort. They obey fear. And then they wonder why their lives never change, why their dreams never materialize, why their potential rots inside them like an unharvested field. It's not a mystery. It's the natural consequence of inconsistent action, because inconsistency is more than a habit. It's a betrayal of your word, a betrayal of your vision, a betrayal of the part of you that knows you were made for more. And I will not let you pretend you don't know what I'm talking about, because you do. You felt it, that sting of quitting, that hollow ache of another promise broken, that nauseating awareness that you let yourself down again. But here's the power in that pain. It's a warning. It's feedback. It's a call to arms. It's your soul demanding better of you, demanding you stand up, decide, act. Because there is another side to all of this, a life where you keep your word, where you trust yourself, where your actions align with your vision, where you become undeniable, unstoppable, unapologetically you. That life is waiting, but it is not granted, it is built. With bricks of daily decisions, mortared with discipline, shaped by relentless consistency. You want that life? Prove it. Not once, always. Now let me ask you the question that matters most. Who are you when no one is watching? Because that is the real measure of consistency. It's not what you show the world, not what you post online, not the speeches you give, not the goals you share. It's the quiet moments, the early mornings, the late nights, the days when motivation is dead and all you have left is your promise. Who are you then? Because that is who you really are. That is your truth. That is what shapes your destiny. Not the performance, the practice, not the image, the reality, not the hype, the habit. You see, the world rewards the person who does it anyway, the person who shows up on the days they want to hide, who works when it's boring, who stays the course when it's silent, because those days are the price. And most people refuse to pay. They want the reward without the work, the result without the repetition, the finish line without the footsteps. But the universe does not work that way. It does not give you what you want. It gives you what you earn, what you prove, what you demonstrate through daily, unrelenting action. That's why consistency is so feared, because it exposes the truth. It reveals the gap between who you say you are and what you actually do. And most people would rather live in the fantasy, the comfortable delusion, than face that truth. But not you, because you're still here, listening, thinking, feeling that fire. And that tells me you're different. You want the real thing. You want to live a life that feels honest, aligned, powerful. You want to look in the mirror and see someone you trust, someone you respect, someone who is worthy of the dreams they dare to dream. And that's why I'm telling you this now, with no apology. Consistency is not optional. It is mandatory. It is the foundation, the scaffolding, the engine, because without it, nothing else matters. Your plans are worthless. Your goals are fantasies. Your vision is a lie. But with it, everything becomes possible, because the world bows to the person who refuses to quit, to the person who makes no excuses, who accepts no compromises, who shows up every single day, not for applause, but for purpose. That is the person I want you to become. That is the person I know you can be. That is the person who will change everything. Because once you decide to be consistent, truly consistent, you will never have to chase success again. It will find you. Because success loves the disciplined, respects the relentless, answers to the consistent. It is not magic, it is law. So choose right now. Choose to be that person. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, because your life is not waiting, and neither should you. Now, let's bring it home, because I want you to remember this forever. Consistency is the ultimate declaration of who you are. It is your daily manifesto, your living creed, your proof to the world and to yourself that you are not here to play small, not here to pretend, not here to dabble. You are here to conquer your own limitations, to master your own mind, to shape your own destiny with unrelenting force of will. And that mastery does not come in a single moment of glory. It is carved in countless quiet choices, when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when no one will ever know except you. That is where you are forged, in the unseen hours, in the discomfort, in the tension between who you are and who you want to be. That's the place where most people quit, where they say it's too hard, too painful, too slow, and they're right. It is hard, it is painful, it is slow, but that's the price of freedom, of peace, of self-respect, of a life you can look back on without regret, because regret is the tax, the inconsistent pay, the silent agony of knowing you could have but didn't. You won't see that on social media. You won't hear it in polite conversation, but you'll see it in people's eyes, the dullness, the resentment, the quiet desperation, because they know. And I refuse to let that be you. So let me speak as plainly as I can. Force yourself to be consistent, even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to, because that is the signal. That is the test. That is the invitation to rise. When you want to quit most is when it matters most that you don't. When you want to delay most is when it matters most that you act. When you want to break your word most is when it matters most that you keep it. That is where the transformation happens. Not in easy days, in hard ones. Not when you're inspired, when you're exhausted, not when you're praised, when you're ignored. Consistency is not for the chosen few. It is the choice that makes you chosen. It is the quiet promise you make to yourself and keep no matter what. It is the foundation of every victory you will ever have, because without it, nothing stands, but with it, nothing can stop you. So decide today. Now make the vow in your own heart. I will be consistent. I will be disciplined. I will be the kind of person who does what they say, who shows up, who finishes, who never quits. Not for anyone else, for you. Because you deserve it, because your future demands it, because your greatness is waiting on the other side of your excuses. It's time to bury them, to kill them off with action, to replace them with habits so strong they feel like destiny. And when that day comes, when you no longer have to force it, because it's simply who you are, remember this moment, this decision, because this is the beginning. This is the line in the sand. This is the day you chose to stop living at the mercy of your moods and start living by the power of your word. This is the day you chose to be consistent forever. The world makes way for those who dare to rise. Click the Rise button now to subscribe and claim the destiny waiting for you. Your time is now.